All right, folks are going to be pumped for this one. I just know. I just know. A little bit late today. Had some stuff I had to get sorted out and taken care of, and wanted to make sure I was in full focus for the actual program here. And also, I got to admit off the top, the thumbnail is a bit of a troll, right? Like just a slight troll, only because obviously Caitlin Clark didn't play in the WNBA Commissioner's Cup game. And this was a team effort that, she's part of the team, clearly. But for the win yesterday specifically, Caitlin Clark did not play a huge part. It bodes well that they're able to win without her. It bodes well for what the Fever can be going forward. Caitlin Clark's return is looming. She will be back shortly. And you have to feel the good vibes and the energy around this team right now. Since DeWanna Bonner's been gone, to be honest with you, that's part of it. Ari McDonald, DeWanna Bonner switch is huge. Natasha Howard played very well in the game, won the MVP. Remember, she said before the season her goal was to win MVP. Well, she got one of them. She did get an MVP in the Commissioner's Cup win. And obviously the team was psyched and pumped, and they let some of their true feelings be known, which I thought was interesting. Some would say perhaps alcohol can be a bit of a truth serum. I am not a drinker myself. I do not endorse alcohol. But just to, it does loosen people up. We all can see that. And you sort of saw after the game a very loose vibe in the Fever locker room, including this quote, which everyone knew would go viral the second it was uttered. Caitlin Clark off camera.
Guys, I just know everybody
I just know everybody in the league is sick. To which Aaliyah Boston said they're pissed. And you remember, Caitlin Clark was voted 9th, or technically not voted 9th, but wound up ranked 9th in All-Star votes, the way that the voting is done by fellow players. And Aaliyah Boston, same thing. And for them to say that, they feel it, they see it, they hear it. They're not completely ignorant to it. It's everywhere. I mean, the Clark thing, LeBron James liked this post about Dick Vitale. Dick Vitale had the comment about like the players being jealous or whatever. And there's the like from LeBron James. Absolutely pure jealousy that the WNBA players voted Caitlin Clark the 9th best guard. Someday they will realize what she has done for all the players in the WNBA: chartered planes, increase in salary, sold out crowds, improved TV ratings, liked by King James. Right? Like, it's not, some made up narrative that isn't in the zeitgeist anymore. And we've seen too many instances where fans feel that way, where fans feel like, the rest of the league hates the Fever, hates Caitlin Clark. Whatever the truth of the matter could be or isn't, or whatever you want to say, it is certainly there is reason for people to think that. Let's put it that way. Certainly reason for people to think that. And the Fever are now rounding into form. And then there was the ESPN bit yesterday. I don't know if people all saw that, but let me share you that. ESPN put up a bit of a placeholder live stream thumbnail. Lynx dominate Fever to win Commissioner's Cup. You can set a live stream in advance and have it ready to go. I would have gone with a much more generic title than that when that was sitting up there for hours and the Fever wind up winning the game. That's just me. Perhaps a different tact could have been taken by Espen there. But if you're a Fever fan, it was all good vibes, all great things. The rest of it is it's funny just because there was only one negative, and that was the Red Panda deal. If you've ever been to basketball games and see the halftime shows and everything, Red Panda is such a iconic halftime act. And Caitlin shouted out Red Panda, who fell off her unicycle and looked to hurt her wrist at halftime of this game.
Panda, we love you. Red Panda. Red Panda got hurt at halftime. Feel better. She rides on the bike and does we love you. I don't think Red Panda is on my shit. She might. I thought it's money like a free.
But look at the joy, which is nice to see. And you got to remember the financial incentives for this game were big for the Fever. These are not small financial incentives when you consider the salaries that some of these women are making on the team. Another thing that went a little viral was Caitlin Clark pointing out that you make more for winning the Commissioner's Cup than for winning the actual WNBA championship.
We got 40 minutes. You get more for this than you do if you're the champion. Makes no sense. Someone tell Kathy to help us out.
Kathy, help us out. Kathy Engelbert had to present that trophy to them last night, and the Fever are indeed the Commissioner's Cup champions, and I think they are in position to do more than that. This is a team that is capable of more than just the Commissioner's Cup championship. It is a team that can go on to do big things because they're going to get Caitlin Clark back. Caitlin Clark will be back in the lineup in short order. I mean, she's obviously close. Her distinction was day to day. Then she was upgraded to questionable before this game. They said game time decision before she was ruled out. They don't play again until Thursday. I think you'll see Caitlin Clark back very soon for the Fever, and you hope she is 100%. Stephanie White drew a distinction yesterday before the game about how they want to make sure she feels good rather than just the progress that she's made. So a bit of a distinction in basically you want her as close to 100% as possible, right? I mean, that is significant. It is important. But Caitlin Clark will be back in short order for the Fever, and we'll get to see her and Aari McDonald on the court for the first time together. Something we haven't seen, which is going to get people excited. I think it's going to be really cool because Aari McDonald can push the pace. Tawana Bonner can not push the pace. that was a switch in their favor. If Natasha Howard can play at the level that she did yesterday, that makes a big difference. Obviously, Damaris Dantas will be back as well. Sophie Cunningham played well in that game. She hadn't played great. Remember her comments before the game? Too, those blew up. And this is part of that everybody hates the Fever thing. Like Sophie Cunningham, you can criticize her comments. I got no problem with that. Like you feel whatever you feel about what Cunningham said about Detroit and Cleveland or whatever. But to read this huge, deeper meaning into it, it's like, come on, we got to play these games with the Fever every single time. Like Sophie Cunningham is the first person to have that sentiment about Cleveland specifically. And Cleveland and Detroit are in, similar boats probably in overall perception.
It's way more helpful. You just get more perks, more opportunities. And so I get that aspect, but I also think that you want to listen to your players too. Like, where do they want to play? Where are they going to get excited to play and draw fans? And I do think that Miami would have been a great one. Like, everyone loves Florida. Nashville is an amazing city. Kansas City, amazing opportunity. There's a huge arena downtown that no one's using. And I think that the Women's Soccer League is showing that, people draw, and so I'm not so sure what the thought process is there. But at the end of the day, you also want to make sure that you're not expanding our league too fast. I think that's also another thing that you don't want teams to totally dominate and then have teams that aren't. And so I just think that it's kind of a hard decision-making situation. But man, I don't know how excited people are to be going to Detroit or Cincinnati.
She said Cincinnati. She messed up. She screwed up Cleveland there. Even an extra diss to Cleveland. And it was funny because the cities got involved there and they were dunking on her. Like Cleveland pulled receipts of Caitlin Clark saying some positive things about the city of Cleveland. But this was Joakim Noah, if anybody remembers what he said back in the day. So it's not a new sentiment.
Do you regret anything that you said about Cleveland?
Not at all. You like it? You think Cleveland's cool? I mean, I never heard anybody say I'm going to Cleveland on vacation. I mean, what's so good about Cleveland?
So, the Sophie Cunningham isn't exactly breaking new ground with those comments. But it's going to be glorious. This is like the Cartman bit. Like, I cannot wait to taste the sweet tears of unfathomable sadness, because there are going to be some people in shambles. And what's appropriate in a certain sense is, like, it's a Commissioner's Cup championship, so obviously it's not the same as a WNBA championship. And Caitlin Clark didn't play, so it's like a exact parallel of Unrivaled in a way, where people brought up the Unrivaled championship, and obviously Angel Reese didn't play in that game either, which was a little bit of a talking point afterwards. But they are both part of their teams, and they both count to the degree that you determine you want to count them. Regardless, they count for money in the pockets of the players. They count for that for sure. And I think, you're seeing the fever round into form. That's the most important thing for this team going forward. They seem to enjoy each other's company. They have, you could see the vibes in that locker room. That was a team that was happy to be together, celebrating with one another. And this is a team that's going to be better the remainder of the season due to the roster changes that have been made. Specifically, obviously, Ari McDonald coming in. And on top of that, clearly, you've got, Caitlin Clark about to return. And you would hope Natasha Howard finds her groove. Because if they can get consistent production out of Natasha Howard at that spot, that's a bit of a game changer. It's a bit of a game changer. All right, I'll get to your guys' comments because it is that kind of show. Like and subscribe to the channel. I'm rocking just because it fits the vibe for the the program here today. I was surprised to hear Caitlin say it, but maybe you need the heel turn Caitlin. Heel turn Caitlin could go hard, right? I mean, it's about time. She's kind of like sat back and said the right things for every single time, no matter how many times, this stuff is going on. That's just the nature of what has happened here. And you cannot say, look, I'm not saying everybody in the league hates Caitlin Clark or whatever, but you cannot ignore the accumulation of evidence that shows you there's something to it. And look, let me be just blunt about it. I've seen it in the sense where it's been a touchy subject behind the scenes when it shouldn't be a touchy subject with direct subjects. And then you factor in the voting, and you factor in, her getting ping-ponged around the court, and you factor in everything that we've seen, the predominant evidence that, everybody's their own individual. But let's just say the Fever and Clark are, for whatever reason, not well liked, despite what was the Kelsey Plum thing the other day. Kelsey Plum, who, by the way, also got crapped on by the players in the voting. I mean, Kelsey Plum was, where did she rank amongst the players? Way lower than she should have. 16th. This is where Kelsey Plum was in the player rankings for All-Star, which seems preposterously low. I don't know what the rationale is behind that. And Paige Becker's 4, right? Versus Caitlin Clark 9. Some of the, like, Natasha Cloud being over Caitlin Clark was another one. Like, it's not even just that, because you can easily make the argument the injury, and there's an argument to be made that Clark should have been lower on the All-Star totem pole than her ability, because she's missed time, but so did Paige Beckers. And like Natasha Cloud being over, I don't even see her on this chart, but Natasha Cloud was higher than Caitlin. Oh, there she is, 4th in the player ranking. I mean, come on. And, I know she might be well liked across the league, but let's be real. And then there was like what Kelsey Plum did the other day with the t-shirt thing. Here, let's find that. Here was Kelsey Plum with the t-shirt. We act like, Caitlin Clark fans are the first fans to show up to a sporting event wearing their favorite player's jersey, even if their favorite player isn't involved. This was that.
Hi, how are you?
No, I mean, look, she's just putting on her stuff. That's fine. And I think people actually misquoted her because I think she might have said this will do better there, but I don't know for sure. But regardless, there's there's something to it. Let's be, and Caitlin Clark finally put it into the universe last night, which was probably appreciated by many in the WNBA sphere and of course in the Indiana Fever sphere. Let's get to the comments section. Member chats, super chats go first. As always, crank that 22. Lynx dominate Fever to win Commissioner's Cup. Yeah, not exactly, right? Didn't exactly go that way. Lynx didn't exactly dominate. That is hilarious that was the placeholder. That, like, ESPN doesn't do any favors either when they put that out there. That doesn't help their reputation about the way the Fever are perceived and have been criticized and all that stuff. They could have put any other placeholder comment there, and that's what they went with. Come on. That is something else. I mean, a lot of people probably thought the Lynx were going to dominate the Fever, but you couldn't have just said Lynx Fever WNBA Commissioner's Cup result and then changed. You had to change it regardless. Kevin Zwicker, Bonner was probably looking like the Squidward meme watching the celebration last night. And then one of the other intriguing phenomenons is like this knee-jerk reaction like some of the legacy folks have to like protect DeWanna Bonner. Oh, DeWanna Bonner's doing just fine. She's like no one's besmirching DeWanna Bonner's career, right? DeWanna Bonner has had a terrific career. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You say otherwise, you're being biased and a liar. She's had a tremendous career. I wrote a whole column about how she deserved more recognition for what she did when she moved up the scoring ranks. So no one's slandering her career. And she's certainly not the first player that's tried to force herself off a team, but those players get criticized. Jimmy Butler, James Harden. And her circumstances is actually worse than that because she just signed there. She signed there, played a couple games, then won it out of Dodge, and now they look better without her. So, yeah, of course fans are going to brag at her expense. If they weren't, that would be strange. Lauren Allen, thank you. Love the confidence this brings to the team and for CC and her teammates. I think she will play more free in more games this season. Look, just get her to 100%. I think that's the most important thing. Get Caitlin Clark to 100%. Make sure she's ready to go the remainder of the season. Make sure, she doesn't have setbacks like Stephanie White said. Obviously, that's important. And that she, is performing at the level that we would expect her to perform at. Because you can't look at injuries and not think of injuries as a factor in performance either. They certainly impact performance in sports. And on top of that, Caitlin Clark has played better when she's had more rest. Brandon Sleep. I was happy for Ari. She got offers from other teams, but waited for the Fever and it paid off. Yeah, she's found a home, right? She has found a home. That is certainly the case. And I think Fever fans have welcomed her, obviously, with open arms. She fits their needs like a glove. And, that's the way life works sometimes, right? That's the way things, the cookie crumbles sometimes. And if you're a Fever fan, you got to feel great about it. What a huge pickup I mean, what a huge pickup. She wound up being the biggest signing. Matthews muses. It feels like that win and that celebration will supercharge this team. Also will provide CC slump relief. Well, it takes, a little bit of the pressure off. If you look at the schedule now, let's take a look at the schedule. Fever play again on Thursday. Obviously, those girls are going to need to rest today, judging from last night. They play again on Thursday against the Sparks. Right? It is against the Sparks, right? Yeah. No, against Vegas. I'm sorry. Then it's the Sparks on Saturday. So showdown with Vegas at home. Sparks at these are all games at home. A long 5-game homestand. And most of them are not squeezed into a truncated period of time. Thursday, Saturday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. So Wednesday through Sunday, they got 3 games in a few days, and then they play again Tuesday, Wednesday, back to back before. Damn, Caitlin Clark should sit one of those 2 games. July 15th and 16th on the road. Connecticut and New York. Mark that down now. She should sit one of those 2 games. Joshua Williams, Fever to the league, 9th in your rankings, but number 1 in your nightmares. That was the sign, right? Right there. 9th in your rankings, but 1st in your nightmares. Pretty good. And, like All-Star, if anybody remembers, when did Magic Johnson, he was out of the WNBA with HIV and came back to the All-Star game in 1992. He won the All-Star MVP, right? Like that's what an All-Star game is. It's a showcase. It's a celebration. And I'm sure the players understood that Clark was going to lead the league in fan voting. Like that was a guarantee. But it's still like, comes off a certain way. Even if you can make, again, I can construct the argument against Clark in a sense, given the amount of games she missed. Like I can construct it. But when you pile it on top of everything else, and you just do wonder, like, what is it? Like, I've always thought the popularity is the central thing, the thing that has alienated folks the most, just because players believe in their own abilities and they've believed that the league is worthy. And then Clark comes in and all these people say they're watching for the first time, and all the rest were bums or whatever, which was not the appropriate approach that's not the appropriate tone from anybody either. Regardless, Paige Beckers had the right mentality about it when she said they'd come watch for Caitlin. They wind up watching everybody else, which is exactly what has happened, right? But as far as the resentment, where does it come from? Where does it stem from? I think number 1 is the popularity. Just knowing that Caitlin Clark is so much more popular than anybody else that it's not even a conversation. It's not even a topic worth broaching. And then, the other subtext and factors. I mean, yeah, she's white, but there are a lot of white players. So I always went, she's also straight. I don't know what, like, I hate diving into that dynamic because I don't know. I don't care. I honestly, I do not give a shit, about with any of that. But it's a constant topic, and it's certainly something that gets brought up, and it's certainly a factor in the WNBA more so than other leagues, in a sense, where you have a storyline because Melissa Smith gets traded away from the Dallas Wings. And her girlfriend or her partner, whatever Dejanay Carrington, is on the Wings. And that's a story. So you don't really have that very much in other sports. Lauren Allen, do you think they waive Turner? I know they have the cap money, but with KK playing more and more players available, it's not great. Just curious your thought. I mean, look, Brianna Turner has not played great. The thing with the Fever is that though they have only carried 11 players all season. It depends on who they're targeting. If they have the cap room to keep her and bring somebody else in, they'll keep her. She's a good locker room presence. And they're probably, I would imagine, the Fever are looking at, other options, of course. But at the same time, it's all salary cap dependent. There's no reason to cut Turner unless you need that salary. And you want to keep the mood and the vibes good in the locker room too. There's that aspect of it. So I'd have to see who they're looking into signing and everything. But the issue at hand, the point I'm trying to make is it's a little different because the Fever have been carrying 11. If they're able to carry 12, then no. If they're able to carry 12, then no. Appreciate all the super chats. Let me see if I can find some member chats before I move on here. Lots of comments, guys. Thank you, as always. Scrolling through. Hello, Candy the Brave. How are you? What do you know about that Phoebe show, says Katie. What's up, Tulip Plays? Some of this stuff this is just it's such an interesting league. Such a strange phenomenon. And I got a text this morning from AJ, who's a member and a frequent contributor, though he's been MIA, but he's like, they're really celebrating the Commissioner's Cup. I think people forget how much money some of that is to some of the players. Not only why shouldn't you celebrate? Like, is there any negative? Apparently, they calculated that CC has $1 billion worth of the WNBA. That puts things into perspective, makes you think to use that. That was in the Athletic article, I believe, yesterday. Stern says Noah's had it rough in Cleveland ever since. I mean, it's direct shots across the bow. Sophie Cunningham needed to have a good game. She came through at the right time. That was much needed. They hating on Plum Dog. Yeah, Plum is not 16th. Let's put it that way. Lisa says Ari is smiling and glad she waited for Fever. Such a blessing. We got a super chat coming in. On the 15th, all contracts become guaranteed. Okay. So that's a good deadline to watch out for. Obviously, thank you, Stern. But they're also getting to the point where the contracts are prorated. Well, they already are at that point, but that was what they were always waiting for before. This is a good point that Ari was just sitting around to be had, right? I mean, there are some good flavors. I get the packs at BJ's, to be honest, so I don't really get to choose the flavors. There's a pink apple lemon one that I really like. I like that one. I like grapefruit. I'm a big fan of grapefruit stuff. I do like grapefruit. Polar Seltzer needs to listen up. I think I got to go get my hair cut and cleaned up after this, by the way. It's getting a little out of control. I was tired. Up late last night, obviously. Trying to make it through these comments, guys. Ernesto, what's up? It's hard to say what the reasoning for Paige Becker's in the All-Star game this year, and CC was not allowed to participate last year. Does it make sense CC had the numbers last year? CC was not allowed to participate? I mean, she was in the All-Star game. Oh, you mean in the Olympics? The first chip of many. I think we may see the beginning of a dynasty unfolding. Look, vibes are good. Vibes are immaculate. I was positive and everybody was getting on me. Remember, I've been positive in a lot of these videos. And thank you for your comments, Dr. Larry. I see you. I notice you in the comments, and I appreciate your support. So wanted to boost yours there. Man Brown won 9th in the rankings, number 1 in the scouting report. That's damn sure true. But, I've been positive and people came at me for being positive. When I saw good things, I saw good signs. You can't get caught up so much in you can't, don't get too high with the highs, too low with the lows, that kind of crap. But, I did think there were a lot of positives earlier in the year that kind of just got ignored. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. A couple more minutes for anybody that wants to chime in. But obviously wanted to make sure I got a live in today, considering the circumstances, clearly. Sorry, I was a little bit behind. But, I had my business to attend to. Thank you, Geronimo. I think last night's video is doing really well, too. How many people we got in here? Quite a bit. Quite a bit of folks. Yeah. Thank you, Charles19. All right. Any other comments? Get them in now. Because I've said what I have to say about the situation. And I got stuff I got to do. As always. But yeah, I mean, I really think, look, I've said it all year. I believe in the Fever as a championship level team. I think they're right there with any team in the league. I don't think any of these teams are definitely better than the Fever. I really don't think that. Assuming Caitlin Clark is healthy, the Lynx are a very good team. With Caitlin Clark healthy, I think the Fever are right there. The Liberty, when they're whole, obviously, are a very good team. With Caitlin Clark healthy, they are right there. The Mercury, the Dream have had nice years. I don't think they're clearly better than the Fever. I don't think there is a team that is definitively clearly better than the Fever at 100%. I just don't. I got to go look at this. Did Kathy's face look that bad about the... I didn't see it. Trophy. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I don't know. Somebody's going to have to send it to me. I didn't see it. I didn't see that blow up. So I'm not going to, I'm not going to say anything without seeing it. But wouldn't shock me. Let's just put it that way. It wouldn't shock me. I think the reason why Kelsey Plum was rated so low is because she left the Aces, and the old guard at the Aces has a stronghold. There is something to that, perhaps. The dynamics of... I've never seen anything like the dynamics of the WNBA. Both, actually internally, from the way that the league works and the players think and all that, and the media and, social media. Social media with the Fever is something else too. Or not even just the Fever, the WNBA, the softest thing I've ever seen, the most agenda-based thing I've ever seen, the most putting serious topics into forcing them in where they don't belong I've ever seen. Well, the team was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. The problem is DeWanna Bonner was on that cover. That part didn't age well. Yeah, I mean, it's like I ain't never seen nothing like it. Brett Goucher could work. Fee switch unrivaled to 5-on-5. They bring in players, and TBS gives CC percent of the league. She brings endorsements, companies. Look, the WNBA ain't going nowhere, guys. You know, they're expanding teams. Caitlin Clark is not leaving the WNBA or any of those things that you see out there. They have the relationship with the NBA, which is important. I'm not going that far. I do hope Unrivaled continues to be a success. Caitlin Clark's participation or not, you know, I would at this point bet against her participating, but I could argue it could be helpful for her, not even just for my own selfish reasons, but she had a long break and she probably needed that to refresh her mind, body, and soul. But perhaps there's also a part of it, that long break, you know, after playing so consistently so long, her body got thrown into a little bit of a shock there. We'll see. It's obviously her choice. I did see Satu's slap in the face comments, Tulip play about the Rosalina wrote about that on Women's Fast Break. She also wrote about the Fever comment, Caitlin Clark's comment. That's in the link. And Natasha Howard, there's a piece from Lou Orlando in the link below as well about Natasha Howard's game and season so far. I did see Satu's comment. They don't really shock me because that's the nature of these kind of negotiations. It's always kind of like that. So I wouldn't read too much into that. You know, CBA negotiations tend to get a little down and dirty and ugly and all that. So I wouldn't read too much into it. They would be, all parties involved would be extraordinarily foolish to squander this momentum that they've got and go into a work stoppage. And look, if you're the league, everybody's in a delicate balance here a little bit because so much of this has come down to one player, if we're being blunt and real about it. So you don't want to, on either side, you know, put the cart before the horse, if you will. But it will be interesting to watch. That's for sure. As will the rest of the season. But I think it was nice to hear Caitlin say what she said. Whether you want to call it a heel turn or whatever, it's a sentiment that people have been feeling, and you knew that she had to have felt it a certain way too. And she's always said and done the right thing and always been complimentary of her peers and always approached things in a humble manner and still been shit on over and over and over again. And eventually that has to pile up. Hit those likes, hit those subscribes. Get that all in. No, I have no idea what the viewership numbers are, Gregory. It was also an Amazon Prime game. So a little bit of a different format as well. Can't quite judge it apples to apples. But all interesting things. Yet they are allowed 12 roster spots, but there's cap space. So yes, I don't think they're going to, I doubt the Fever cut a player. Let's say that. I doubt they cut a player. Congratulations to the Fever from Kelly Mary. Thank you. Thank you to everybody that joined today. Love is the movement. Love is in the air. Love to Red Panda. Hope she's good. Looked like she broke her wrist. My daughter's been dealing with a broken wrist, so that hits me a little bit. You know. All right, y'all. Last 90 seconds or so. Get them in. Get them in. I'm starving. I need breakfast. Whew. I'm playing basketball myself tonight, y'all. It's always good. But saw Odyssey Sims was cut by the Sparks as well. Fever fans got to be feeling really good today. Caitlin Clark fans got to be feeling really good today. So that'll do it. Until the next one, y'all, let's just keep that love comment on the screen. Feels appropriate. Yeet. Oh, actually, Sue Ellen is a member. There you go. Got a member. Making sure I get those member chats in. Got to set up the member event. I know I just talk about the stuff. I got to make sure I actually do it too, because it is important. Feeling really good today. That's a good one to end it on. I'm feeling good today as well. Oh, Brandon Sleep says, where is DB going to land? That's a good question. The Aces, maybe? Did they clear cap space to sign her? I don't know if DeWanna Bonner is that desirable right now. You know, the Mercury don't seem completely intent on disrupting their chemistry to bring her in. What did Bonner do in her time with the Fever to make her look like a desirable asset? I don't know. I think it's uncertain, to be real with you. I don't know if she did herself any favors. She's 37 years old, right? I mean, her contract shouldn't be too much at this point. We'll see if the Mercury still go that way. But it worked out best for the Fever. Let's put it that way. All right. Until the next one, y'all. Yeet.